I think I just found the most insane RGB ever found on a keyboard, and the RGBs aren't even what make this keyboard so great. It has a ton of other features, which is why I would say this is maybe one of the best starter keyboards if you are just getting into the mechanical keyboard game. So let's find out just what makes the Gamakay or Womier K87 so great. First of all, it starts out at $90 USD, which is actually a fairly good price, and you can find it around $80 on some websites as well. So it is a TKL keyboard, which means it does have dedicated arrow keys and a function row, while also being smaller than a full-size keyboard. I do, however, prefer 75% keyboards a little bit more than TKL because they are slightly smaller, but TKLs aren't that bad, they're just a little bit bigger. It weighs in at about 1.7 pounds, which is pretty heavy for an acrylic keyboard. Speaking of acrylic, the case is made up of 3 layers of acrylic plastic, which allows the RGBs to shine all the way around it, making it some of the best RGB I have seen. It is 367mm long, 138mm wide, and 30mm tall. There are a lot of other acrylic keyboards out there, but to me they just don't look as good as this keyboard, as they usually feel super cheap. Also, they are usually a plain looking clear plastic, while on this botanical version, it has a nice greenish theme that looks pretty cool to me. It has these nice trees on the case and leaves that go around the whole keyboard. The keycaps are PBT plastic and go nicely with the theme of this keyboard in this nice green and white colorway. They are in this XVX profile, which I haven't heard of before and pretty sure it's Womier's own, but basically the first 3 rows angle in and the top 3 rows angle the other way towards the inside of the keyboard, so it makes sort of a V shape with the keycaps. It's pretty easy to get used to and nice to type on, and they look super good on this keyboard. You can change the RGB on the keyboard itself, or it does have a software where you can also change the lighting and set macros. The RGB under the keys and the RGB around the board can be controlled separately, so you can have different colors or effects on either one. It does come with either red or yellow Gateron switches. I got mine with red switches. Why I say this is also a good starter keyboard is because it is hot swappable with either 3 or 5 pin switches, which is most normal mechanical switches. This means that you can change the switch out later on if you feel like upgrading it later. It has these 6 rubber feet on the bottom of the keyboard to add some grip so it doesn't move by accident, as well as it does add a very slight angle, but it is still a very flat keyboard, which I don't mind too much. But some people might like it where you can change the angle of the keyboard, which this keyboard does not have. It also has a USB-C port where you plug the keyboard into, like most other keyboards out there, but it is on the right side instead of the left side like the other keyboards. The keyboard itself looks really sweet in this botanical theme, as it doesn't look like every single other keyboard out there. It goes really well with the stock keycaps themselves, and they are really high quality, so I don't really see a need to upgrade them ever. And of course, the RGB is some of the best I have seen on any keyboard I have, even with the keycaps not being backlit. Out of the box, you get a quick start guide, a 1.8 meter white USB-C to USB-A cable, a plastic keycap puller, a switch puller, and something I've never seen come before with a keyboard is a brush to dust your keyboard, as we all know your keyboards do get a little dusty after a while. Some things I don't really like about this keyboard, and the first thing is pretty minor, but the USB port being on the right side instead of the left side bugs me a little bit, but it isn't too big of a deal as I've gotten used to it pretty quick. Another thing is that I wish they had more switch options out of the box instead of just Gateron reds or yellows, as I prefer tactile switches and it only comes with a couple linear options, but at least it is hot swappable, so that kind of makes this a minor con as well. And as you will hear in just a second, the spacebar does rattle quite a bit out of the box, which again you can easily fix with some lube, but just hear for yourself. Now, why I really like this board is because it is under $100 and the quality it has for being under $100 is insane for how good this keyboard actually is. First of all, it just looks super cool out of the box with this botanical theme, and the RGBs are some of the brightest and nicest I have ever tried on any keyboard, which is why I would say this is one of the best starter keyboards, as it is hot swappable, so it's really easy to upgrade later on. And the stock keycaps go really well with the design. I know they aren't see-through, but the backlit double shot keycaps that let the RGBs shine through are usually thinner and worse quality, which is why I prefer non-backlit keycaps now. The first thing I would do if I got this keyboard and decided I wanted to make it instantly better would be to lube the stabilizers. It takes about 5 minutes to do. All you have to do is take some dielectric grease and just stick it in there.
That's what she said.
And down the road, I would upgrade the switches to something that fits you better, which for me would be some tactile switches. If you're going to be typing and gaming a lot, I would highly recommend this keyboard, but if you are still looking for a keyboard and are not exactly sure what you should be looking out for, I just made a complete beginner's guide for getting into mechanical keyboards, so just click on the screen now and watch that next.